আমি বলি আজকে যিনি রিসোর্স পারসন আমাদের, উনি আমাদের কলেজে এর আগেও একটি ওয়ার্কশপে এসেছিলেন। ওয়ার্কশপটি হয়েছিল ডিজিটাল এরার ওপরে, আমাদের কি লাইব্রেরির ইউজার এডুকেশনের ওপরে। আজকের উনি রিসার্চ মেথোডোলজির ওপরে কিছু বক্তব্য দেবেন। তার আগে একটু আমি প্রিন্সিপাল স্যারকে কিছু এই বিষয়ে একটু বলবার জন্য অনুরোধ করছি স্যার।
সবাইকে স্বাগত। প্রফেসর দুর্গাশঙ্কর রথ বিদ্যাসাগর বিশ্ববিদ্যালয়ের অধ্যাপক। শুধু অধ্যাপক বললে আমাদের কম বলা হয়, তার পরিচিতি আমাদের এতদ অঞ্চলে উনাকে সবাই চেনেন জানেন, এবং এই অঞ্চলেরই তিনি সন্তান জন্মসূত্রে। আজকের রিসার্চ মেথোডোলজি এই টপিকসটা আমাদের কোস্টাল এনভায়রনমেন্টাল স্টাডিজ রিসার্চ সেন্টার তাদের উদ্যোগে হচ্ছে। তো সেই জন্য আমাদের কনভেনার ডক্টর ঘড়ই সহ অন্যান্য যারা অ্যাসোসিয়েট প্রফেসর মানে সহযোগী, এখানে সেই সেন্সে বলছি অ্যাসোসিয়েট প্রফেসর, সবাইকে কলেজের পক্ষ থেকে ধন্যবাদ জানাচ্ছি, কৃতজ্ঞতা জানাচ্ছি ডক্টর দুর্গাশঙ্কর রথকে। এবং আজকের এই অনুষ্ঠান, দুটি অনুষ্ঠানই আইকিউএসির উদ্যোগে সহায়তায় অনুষ্ঠিত হচ্ছে। সেই জন্য কোঅর্ডিনেটর আইকিউএসিকে আমি ধন্যবাদ জানাই টিচার্স কাউন্সিলের সেক্রেটারি। একটু বলি, বেশি সময় নেব না। আমরা 4 ডিকেডস, মানে আমি আমার ব্যক্তিগত কথা বলি, 1986 সালে আমি পিএইচডি করেছি। তখন এই রিসার্চ মেথোডোলজি এই পেছনে কথা হচ্ছে, রিসার্চ মেথোডোলজি টপিকসটা ছিল না। আমার যতটুকু মনে পড়ে, আমাদের কলেজের প্রথম ডক্টর আলয়চাঁদ বিশ্বাস নিউ রেগুলেশন, অর্থাৎ এই রেগুলেশন পিএইচডি রেগুলেশন দ্যাট ওয়াজ ফ্রেমড বাই ইউজিসি ইন 2009, সেই সময় কোর্স ওয়ার্ক যেটা চালু হলো, একটা সেমিস্টার 6 মান্থসের এই কোর্স ওয়ার্ক আমাদের বিদ্যাসাগর বিশ্ববিদ্যালয় তথা অন্যান্য বিশ্ববিদ্যালয়ে চালু হলো। এবং সেই থেকে আমাদের অন্যান্য যারা কলিগ, আলয়বাবুর পর সুদীপ্ত বাবু, দীপক বাবু, সবাই কোর্স ওয়ার্কের মাধ্যমে নিউ রেগুলেশনে তারা পিএইচডি করেছে। আজ আমাদের গর্বের এবং আনন্দের যে আমাদের সমস্ত রিসার্চ স্কলাররা ভালোভাবেই কোর্স ওয়ার্কে রেজাল্ট করেছে এবং তাদের পিএইচডির প্রি রেজিস্ট্রেশন তার জন্য আমরা জমা দিয়েছি। পিএইচডি এই কাজটার ক্ষেত্রে রিসার্চ মেথোডোলজির আমাদের আলয়বাবু নিশ্চয়ই তোমাদের পড়িয়েছে, তার কি কি কারণে, কি কি এর জন্য আমরা কেন এই মেথোডোলজি সিলেবাস, নিশ্চয়ই তার ডিটেলস তিনি আলোচনা করেছেন। আমি একটু বলবো যে ওল্ড রেগুলেশন হোক, নিউ রেগুলেশন হোক, কাজটা পিএইচডি ওয়ার্কের মধ্যে কোনো ডিফারেন্স নেই। কারণ আমরাও কাজ করেছি সেই ফিল্ড সার্ভে, লিটারেচার সার্ভে এবং স্ট্যাটিস্টিক্যাল ডাটা অ্যানালিসিস, স্যাম্পলিং, প্রত্যেক ক্ষেত্রেই সেই কাজ আজও চলছে এবং কোনো কাজ কখনো তা রিপিট হয় না, এটা সবাই জানো। আমি সেই জন্য বলবো যে আজকের এই টপিকস তোমাদের ভবিষ্যৎ চলার পথে পাথেয় হবে। এবং আজকের যিনি মূল বক্তা ডক্টর রথ তার বক্তব্যের মাধ্যমে তুলে ধরবেন রিসার্চ মেথোডোলজি কি কি কারণে, কেন তার প্রয়োজনীয়তা। আমি সেই জন্য আমার বক্তব্য দীর্ঘায়িত করব না। আমি আজকের অনুষ্ঠানের সাফল্য কামনা করে সবাইকে ধন্যবাদ জানিয়ে বক্তব্য শেষ করছি।
প্রিন্সিপাল স্যারকে অনেক অনেক ধন্যবাদ এই মূল্যবান বক্তব্য রাখার জন্য। এখন আমি আমাদের আইকিউএসির কোঅর্ডিনেটর ডক্টর আলোয়চাঁদ বিশ্বাস মহাশয়কে একটু কিছু বলার জন্য অনুরোধ করছি।
Good afternoon, everybody. Today, just a few minutes ago, we have completed one special talk on entrepreneurship development, and now we are just going to start another program, that is a talk on research methodology. And on the dais, there is Dr. Deepak Kumar Tamili, the principal of the college, our honorable principal, and also we have among us Dr. Durga Shankar Roth, Department of Library Science, Vidyasagar University, and also on the dais Dr. Shilpi Sri Giri, Secretary Teachers Council, and the two librarians, our madams, they are also on the dais, and my colleagues of the different departments, Deepak Babu, Sudipto Babu, Sunil Babu, and others, and the research scholars of our research center, Coastal Environmental Studies. Shantanu is also here on the dais. He is also one of the supervisors. Now, I don't want to spend much time because we are already late. I offer my heartfelt thanks to the research, the members of the research center for organizing this program. These two programs which are held today are of immense significance for the college as well as research center, and also it is to be mentioned for our NAC inspection, which is to be scheduled very soon, I think, because we have to do our NAC inspection within December 2023. Here is the resource person, Dr. Durga Shankar Roth. He will deliver his speech on the topic research methodology, and I think here most of you who are present here, research scholars, and already you are well conversant with these research methodologies. Though in humanities there is a little scope to think about so many research methodologies, but in case of social sciences and science subjects, research methodologies are vast. They have to opt for many options for research methodologies. They have to undertake or utilize a lot of methodologies for their research works. So I think all these things will be discussed by our honorable research person. I hope that this program will be a successful one, and it will give us, our research scholars, a immense scope to utilize in their research works the methodologies, different types of methodologies which are relevant to their subject of investigation. Thank you all.
থ্যাংক ইউ ভেরি মাচ স্যার। এখন আমি একটু আমাদের টিআইসি সেক্রেটারি ডক্টর শিল্পী শ্রী গিরি মহাশয়কে ডাকছি কিছু বলার জন্য।
মঞ্চে উপস্থিত এগরা সারদা শিশুভূষণ কলেজের অধ্যক্ষ মহাশয় ডক্টর দীপক কুমার তামিলি মহাশয় এবং আমাদের বিদ্যাসাগর বিশ্ববিদ্যালয় থেকে যিনি প্রধান বক্তা আমাদের ডক্টর দুর্গাশঙ্কর রথ মহাশয়, এবং মঞ্চে উপস্থিত আছেন আমাদের কলেজের আইকিউএসির কোঅর্ডিনেটর ডক্টর আলোয়চাঁদ বিশ্বাস মহাশয়, এবং লাইব্রেরির দুজন ম্যাডাম নমিনিতা এবং রনিতা দুজন উপস্থিত রয়েছেন, এবং আমাদের সামনে উপস্থিত রয়েছে আমার কলেজের সহকর্মীবৃন্দ এবং আমার সকল ছাত্রছাত্রীবৃন্দ। সামনে যারা রয়েছে তারা আমার অনেকের কলিগও আছে, আবার ছাত্রছাত্রীও রয়েছে। সবাইকে যথাযোগ্য সম্মান দিয়ে দুটো চারটি কথা বলবো। রিসার্চ মেথোডোলজি তো অনেক বড় ব্যাপার, স্যার তো বললেন সংক্ষিপ্তভাবে, এবং ভালো মতোই জানেন যে এটা পরবর্তীকালে অ্যাড হয়েছে রিসার্চ করবার জন্য, স্যার বললেন। এবং এই মেথোডোলজিটা পড়া হয় কিসের জন্য, আমি জাস্ট দুটো চারটে কথা বলবো। যেরকম একটা ঘর বানাতে গেলে পরপর পরপর ইটগুলো বসিয়ে দিলেই যেরকম ঘর হয় না, তার একটা কনস্ট্রাকশন চাই, তার আগে থেকে প্ল্যান চাই। প্ল্যান হলে তার উপরে গিয়ে ভিতটা কেটে ইট বসিয়ে ঢালাই দিয়ে তারপর ঘর হয়। ঠিক সেরকমই যখন রিসার্চ করা হয় তখন সেই রিসার্চটা কিভাবে হবে তার জন্য ডাটা সংগ্রহ করা, জার্নাল সংগ্রহ করা, তার জন্য রিসার্চের জন্য যে প্রয়োজনীয় জিনিসপত্র সেগুলো কিন্তু আমাদের সবসময় লাইব্রেরি থেকে হেল্প দিতে হয়। সেই লাইব্রেরিতেই আমরা সবসময় মনে করি লাইব্রেরিতে গিয়ে এতক্ষণ সময় ধরে এই জিনিসটা খুঁজবো, ওটাই করবো, সেটা করবো, কিন্তু খুঁজতে খুঁজতে আমরা দেখেছি অনেক কিছু জিনিস পাই, যে জিনিসগুলো আমরা হয়তো ভাবি না যে এটা আমাদের রিসার্চের কাজে লেগে যাবে বা লাগতে পারে, কিন্তু দেখতে দেখতে বইপত্র জার্নালগুলো উল্টাতে উল্টাতে মনে হয় যেন হ্যাঁ এটা কিন্তু আমার জায়গাতে কিছুটা হলেও আমাকে সাহায্য করবে। এই জন্যই রিসার্চ করতে গেলে লাইব্রেরিটা কিন্তু অঙ্গাঙ্গিভাবে জড়িত। সেই জন্য যে আজকে আমাদের কলেজ থেকে এবং ম্যাডামরা যে আজকে এই রিসার্চ মেথোডোলজির উপর যে প্রোগ্রামটা আয়োজন করেছে সেটা সাফল্যমণ্ডিত হোক। তোমরা নিশ্চয়ই এখান থেকে অনেক জ্ঞান সমৃদ্ধ করবেন, যিনি এসেছেন উনি বলবেন এবং তোমরা সমৃদ্ধ হয়ে এখান থেকে যাবে, এই আশা রেখে আমি আমার ক্ষুদ্র বক্তব্য শেষ করছি।
ধন্যবাদ শিল্পী স্মৃতি। আমি একটু আগে বলতে ভুলে গেছি, আমাদের যে মূল বক্তা ডক্টর দুর্গাশঙ্কর রথ যেমন এই সেমিনারের জন্য উপস্থিত রয়েছেন, আমাদের আরেকজন বক্তাও আছেন, উনি ভার্চুয়াল মোডে আমাদের এই বিষয় নিয়ে আলোচনা করবেন। কিছুক্ষণ পরে উনি জয়েন করবেন। উনি হচ্ছেন অ্যাসিস্ট্যান্ট লাইব্রেরিয়ান অ্যান্ড ইনফরমেশন অফিসার অফ ন্যাশনাল লাইব্রেরি অফ ইন্ডিয়া, মিনিস্ট্রি অফ কালচার, গভর্নমেন্ট অফ ইন্ডিয়া। উনি আমাদের ডক্টর দুর্গাশঙ্কর রথ স্যারের পরেই উনি ওনার বক্তব্য পেশ করবেন ভার্চুয়াল মোডে। এখন আমি স্যারকে, ডক্টর দুর্গাশঙ্কর রথ স্যারকে অনুরোধ করব তার বক্তব্য পেশ করার জন্য।
Good afternoon, everybody. Principal sir is on the dais. He has already instructed me earlier that most of the research scholars are from science, maybe mostly from natural science background. Some of them are from social science background. I had some presentation with specially oriented towards social science research, but anyhow, for today's discussion, better to have a general view on research. Then if required, we can discuss later over phone, over social media, anywhere we can think over it. Just now our IQAC coordinator sir just instructed me that to have a interaction with research scholar. First of all, let me ask you one question. Before contemplating on your topic, I mean the theme of your study, how many of you have consulted some of the relevant documents to find out the novelty of the research? The topic what you have selected, it is not pursued by others. You are the person who is looking after it. Whether you will be successful or not, that is different issue. At least you are pursuing this research. It has a novel idea. How many of you have consulted what kind of document? আমি বলছি যে যদি রিসার্চ টপিকটা রেজিস্ট্রি করে দিলাম, কিন্তু করার আগে এই টপিকের উপরে কি কি কাজ কোথায় হয়েছে এবং এটা নভেল টপিক কিনা এটা কিভাবে আমরা ডিসাইড করি? লিটারেচার রিভিউ। লিটারেচার রিভিউয়ে কোন কোন ধরনের ডকুমেন্টকে প্রথমে দেখেন? কিভাবে বুঝবেন যে আপনি পৃথিবীর সমস্ত লিটারেচারই স্টাডি করে নিয়েছেন? সম্ভব নয় কারোর দ্বারাই, একেবারেই সম্ভব নয়, যার যে এরিয়াই হোক না কেন সবটাই পার্সিয়াল। কিন্তু আমরা যেহেতু আলোচনাটা এখানে শুরু করেছি from library science point of view, first of all think of some of the periodicals which takes care indexing journal rather. You must have heard of Web of Science, you must have heard of Scopus. What do they do? Whoever publishes research in different research journals, they are taking those journals, preparing indexes of them, and they are publishing time to time. So whenever you go through the cumulated form of that research, as long maybe the latest edition of it, they will let you know whether in this area who are working anywhere. Besides that, you must have consulted directory of doctoral dissertations. In dissertation especially, all over the world there is some unique document, wherever it may be, university newsletter maybe, time to time they are publishing it. So wherever in under any university of India, if anything got registered, they will let you know that in this particular topic somebody has got registered there. And nowadays, of course, Sodh Ganga, Sodh Sindhu, etc. are there, where we would come to know. First of all, this extensive survey should be conducted first, to have the idea that what kind of work in your interested area is going on anywhere, and then finally decide the review of literature after that only. And while reviewing, better to consult the original article as far as possible. Sometimes even without going through the real article, the abstract of it also will suffice. If you find that the methodology is clear, the findings of that research is almost known to you, even with the abstract, extended abstract, sometimes very methodically they present the findings, methodology, etc. For that will also work. But all these things definitely in most of the cases are not properly conducted and pursued. That is the problem of the beginning of the research. Otherwise, if you say that topic is selected, that means research is almost done. Okay. It's really a great idea to have a novel topic where we would pursue the research. Today, as most of us are from different subject backgrounds, I would like to start my discussion from a very general notion about the research. Sometimes we say that we have collected some data, we got the percentage of it and all this calculation is done, and we are asking for some inference. How to infer the result of it? Let's start with the discussion now. Its writing is very small, so it would be a bit difficult, but I'll tell you that theme is known to most of the arts people. It's a writing of Charles Dickens, right? The novel is Hard Times. Some of you must have gone through that. In Hard Times, there is a character by name Sissy. Sissy means Cecilia Jupe, exactly the name of that girl. And another girl is here whose name is Louisa. Their interaction, and from that I would start the discussion about the research. Hard Times is a very famous novel where Cecilia Jupe is the center character there, I mean the heroine rather, or hero, whatever you would like to say. And she has not gone through any formal study in any school. Suddenly her father was interested in study and put her in a school. And the school, what kind of experiences she had, that is depicted in this topic. And she is sharing it with the daughter of the principal, who happened to be a very good scholar. And what is their interaction? Let's see. Tell me some of your mistakes. I mean, very frequently Sissy commits mistakes in the class. Mr. Chokumchild is the teacher, and he instructs that you have committed wrong in this way, that way. So they are mistakes, and she is trying to tell Louisa about her mistakes. First mistake, I am almost ashamed to say, said CC, with reluctance. But today, for instance, Mr. Chakumchild was explaining to us about natural prosperity. About natural prosperity. You see, the word is natural prosperity. National, I think it must have been, observed Louisa. To that girl, she couldn't distinguish between these two concepts of national prosperity and natural prosperity. Any of you, do you have any idea? Are they really different or are they same? In true sense of the term, if prosperity for a particular nation is there, definitely that would be natural prosperity. Then why this national, a political boundary is there for that discussion? That is what wondered by the Cecilia. Yes, it was, but isn't it the same? She timidly asked. You had better say national. You see, the most renowned scholar of that school, she also was not in a position to object that it is not natural. These are the reasons this is not natural, this is unnatural. To a particular country, the prosperity of it is unnatural. It's not the case. So she said that you better say so. For that reason, probably, sir told that we must learn about research methodology. Actually, it's not, we have to learn, like UGC has stipulated us to learn all these things. We are pursuing the research means automatically we will learn it in the process. We need not have to go through any coursework for that. If really someone is interested while working, while doing, he or she has to learn it. And that learning is much more, what I say, consolidated than somehow some pedagogy is there to develop research methodology. Another thing is that national prosperity, and he said now this classroom, schoolroom is a nation, and in this nation there are 50 millions of money. Isn't this a prosperous nation, girl number 20? Isn't this a prosperous nation? And aren't you in a thriving state? This question was asked to Louisa, and Louisa answered that, what did you say? Asked Louisa. Miss Louisa, I said I didn't know. I thought I could not know whether it was a prosperous nation or not. But most of you are in a position to tell that it is a prosperous nation. Isn't it? Because the statistical figure at least with you, and you can say their per capita income and all these things you can calculate and say it. But that girl told that, no, I cannot. That is where lying, basically, those who are really think deep, they really commit mistakes. Researcher need not have to think very rigorously, rather in a common man's way. Then only the problems they will find out better. It's true that contemplation on a topic is essential, but researcher, how do they get it? I said I didn't know. The reason is that I was in a thriving state or not unless I know who had got the money. Who had got the money? It's not that a country is prosperous. We know in our country, say for example, our per capita national income is calculated considering Tata, Birla, Mafatlal, Goenka and so on. J.I.G. Thapar, whoever is in the country. And if you take away only a few of them, some 20, 50, 100, the per capita national income will drop to a very meager amount. So that is the case, that is understood by that girl who has never gone to a school. That's why she is telling that nothing to do with it. I was not in it's not in a figure at all, said Sisi, wiping her eyes. That was a great mistake of yours, observed Louisa. Here again you see, Louisa, I know it is. Now then Mr. Chakumchild said it would try me again, and he said that this classroom is an immense town, and in it there are 1 million of inhabitants, and only 5 and 20 are starved to death. Only 5 and 20 means 25 are starved to death in the states. In the course of the year, what is your remark on that proportion? Now the question is asked, what is the remarks of that proportion? Most of us will say that very bigger because the population is very high. The sample what is taken for who has starved to death is very small. So my remark was, for I could not think for a better one, that I thought it must be just as hard upon those who were starved, whether the others were a million or a million, and that was wrong too. Others, if the number of others are million or million of millions also, that doesn't matter. If only 25 people are starved to death, it is hard to them. That is what understood by Cecilia Jupe. Then Mr. Chokumchild said it would try me once more. Here are the stutterings. The stutterings actually about the statistics. The word is statistics. She doesn't remember the word statistics. She always tells that it is stutterings. You see, stutterings or stammerings, what we say about the statistics, and some of the very famous people, though it is popular by Mark Twain, made it popular, that lie, damn lie, and then statistics at the extreme end of it. Still, stuttering is the word what is first come to the mind of Cecilia. Yes, Miss Luisa, they always remind me of stutterings, and that's another of my mistakes, of accidents upon the sea. And I find that in a given time 100,000 persons went to a sea voyage, and only 500 of them are drowned or burned to death. What is the percentage? Here Sisi fairly sobbed as confessing with extreme contrition. To her greatest terror, I said it was nothing. It was nothing. What is the matter? Nothing, miss. To the relations and friends of the people who were killed, I shall never learn. You see, the girl is telling she will never learn. She so much to learn, and although I am so anxious to learn, because my father wished me to learn, I am afraid I don't like it. So you see, really that is the condition of the formal way of learning, formal way of formulating your research, formal way of drawing inference from the given data. That is the state. From there, let's start with formal talk on research. Can you tell why human beings only conduct research? Is it not performed by other species in universe? Do they commit some experiment and then find out the new way of doing anything? Maybe so, but mostly it is human being, and we are the unique creation of the nature, and in the evolution we have reached at the peak considering our developed nervous system, our cortex, and that nervous system as it is highly developed, and we can infer sounds and symbols for communication. That is where the difference lies. We can remember, we can write something for future, we can even from the earliest civilization. Say for example, when primitive men, they could not go out for natural calamity, for say heavy rain, they used to stay back either inside a cave. Still they used to draw some pictures, isn't it? What is the purpose of it? To make others learn. Those who could not go, or those who are not efficient in preying animals, in collecting fruits, how to gather fruits better, how to prey animals better, they learned it. And you know, it is said that agriculture, the invention of agriculture rather, is attributed to women. Why? Because they observed the phenomena when for some physical reason for a long time they never used to go with others to collect fruits or preying animals. They used to stay back at their stationary location where they used to stay, maybe a cave, maybe under a tree, wherever it may be. But they observed that the thrown away food, the thrown away seeds rather, they got germinated, and the agriculture came into being. Much later, the formal agriculture might have been invented in Mesopotamia, in River Nile, and so on. But women probably had invented the agriculture at the beginning. That is how they observed it. So ability to record our questions, our observations, our experiences, our ideas, that is the basic beginning of the research. We have that power compared to other animals of this world. Now, as human being able to infer so many things on their own, their central nervous systems is much developed one. Still, what was the problem at the beginning? Some of the leaders in the society, those who run the society, you know that at the primitive age, definitely there were the bonded labor system and so on. Some anomalies were there in the civilization. How it cropped up? Because those who are able people, physically able, or say for example cunning in the sense to deceive others, they used to treat common men and try to take the advantage out of it. The first group of people, those who had taken the advantage, were medicine men and priests. Priests used to say that we have a direct connection, because people, common men, when they cannot understand the reason behind a phenomena, they find that suddenly there is some forest fire, suddenly there is some natural calamity, they attribute it, there is some unknown, and gods, that's how the idea of God came into their mind. The priest, they are the group of people who used to say that we have a direct connection with them, I mean God, and that is why they used to take the advantage from the society. Medicine man also, other group of people who had somehow had some tricky way of healing, and they never used to tell others that how they have done it. So that is how those people got some advantage in the social strata. And some others also, slowly they have started to find out some orderliness in the apparent disorders of the nature. What appears to us as very much capricious, very much difficult to infer, there is some orderliness in it if you look into it in a very close, through some close observation. Say for example, those who were the people near the river Nile, they used to find that in a particular time of a year, usually it gets flooded, and once it gets flooded, the next year crop cultivation is better due to the soil quality got better, and all these things is for observation. They found that after certain time the river Nile, I mean the floats, no, এই যে নদীতে যে জোয়ার ভাটা আছে এগুলোকে তারা পর্যবেক্ষণ করে ধীরে ধীরে তাদের মধ্যে একটা অর্ডারলিনেস পাওয়ার চেষ্টা করলেন। That is the beginning of the common human being to find out some orderliness in the apparent disorderliness of the nature. Now, let me ask you some question. Is it possible to start with simply observing all the phenomena of the world and make a general observation out of it, from particular to general? Is it the way of research? What is your observation? How do you start your research? There are basically two logics. Actually, different logics are also there, predicate logic and others are there, but in a very preliminary state, two logics, one is deductive reasoning, another is inductive reasoning. These two kinds of reasoning are there. Now, let me ask you one question. Where do you start? Researcher, where do they start? From deductive or from inductive? Actually, both should be applied. I will come to that question. Unless a research combine inductive and deductive both, that cannot be considered as a scientific research. No way. That is for sure. Now, come to my point, that where is the starting point? Is it deductive or inductive? See, common man observes phenomena. It's completely inductive because particular instances they are observing and trying to generalize that every year these times usually the rain increases. These are the orderliness in it. Say for example, just before coming to this particular seminar, I was observing that last few days at least in my garden I couldn't find much more lady's finger which was grown a few days back. So simply I wondered what happened. Sometimes it is rain also, even sun is also there. What exactly is the reason why it got reduced? Then maybe there are some reason. I thought that maybe the flowers which are washed out, probably it's not getting help to get the fruits. That may be the reason, may not be. That starts my hypothesis. When someone thinks in a where exactly the idea ends, to what extent already known to us, from that known point if someone starts, that is the starting of deductive reasoning. So research starts from deductive point, but common man observes everything from inductive points. There lies the difference of common man's observation. Cause and effect relationship, common man also can establish the cause and effect relationship. Sometimes it is correctly established, correct relation is built between cause and effect. Sometimes they fail to relate the cause and effect relationship. But when we are pursuing a research, we are supposed to establish the right relationship. So always our research, we cannot say that we are going to prove our hypothesis. Rather, we are going to prove or disprove our hypothesis. What hypothesis we have initiated, at the end we may find that that hypothesis is wrong. At least to the future researcher we have a message that in this way if you continue the research considering these facts, that is you are bound to reach a failure. They won't go in that particular way. That is the outcome of the research. And in every country that is also considered as a research. And of course there won't be any problem in getting your degree also, if we consider our academic research. Empirical evidences versus orthodoxy. Yes, you found some evidences, common man observed, but as I told you that orthodox means those who are already got some advantage in the society, they have some vested interest to continue the belief what is already established. That's why they sometimes go against it. At the beginning of all the country, though I am telling it again, though religion is the reason for the prosperity of the society at certain stage, but in certain stage also religion were the main reason to obstruct the knowledge. They had tried to obstruct the knowledge so that people cannot understand properly, they cannot think reasonably, science cannot prevail. That is their effort, and that is called the orthodoxy. In any religion it happens. If something go beyond them, they always try to bring back to their own fold. Now, what is the difference of unsystematic observation and systematic observation? See, to mathematics students at least they understood that these are two parallel lines. The vertical lines what is drawn there, they are two parallel lines. Okay, but it seems to be not parallel, as if it is bent, budge at the middle of it. মাঝেরটা একটু ফাঁক হয়ে আছে মনে হচ্ছে না? এই যে দুটো প্যারালাল লাইন টানা আছে, খুব যদিও মানে ন্যারো লাইনস, বোঝা যাচ্ছে কি? দেখা যাচ্ছে এটা? দেখুন ম্যাথমেটিক্সের স্টুডেন্টরা জানেন যে এটা প্যারালাল লাইন, কিন্তু দেখুন আপাত দৃষ্টিতে মনে হচ্ছে কিনা যে এটা নট প্যারালাল, সামওয়ে বাজ at the center of it. This is an illusion, definitely. Scientifically, if you put the scale there, definitely you will find that they are parallel lines. Why we are then taking decisions that they are not parallel? Because of our intuition. Along with our 5 sensory organs, the intuition also plays a vital role in taking decisions. And most of the times, intuition is the only difference between the common man and the real researcher, or rather the great man. Okay. All of us might have observed to fall down all the fruits, not only apple. But why did it occur to say, what is our Newton, that why it is not going right direction, left direction, topwards? We had never thought of it. The reason is that it is, of course, common, it is go where it will go. If it not fell down, then where it will go. As if we didn't find any other way to go there. We know that 10 different directions are there. At least in our culture, we understood that there are 10 different directions. Why it went into towards the ground only? Then he supposed that probably there is some attraction at the center of the earth, and find out the gravitational force in it. So you see, first of all, some guess, and that guess is not a wild guess. That is guess with some estimation, through which observation definitely some sort of intuition plays the role to establish the reason that these are the probable reasons probably why it is happening. And he tried to establish it, or try to prove that hypothesis towards a thesis. So intuition, though, to a common man sometimes betrays them to take the right decision, but most of the times to the researchers, this is the first way of rescuing his to go into the right direction. Now I had started with reasoning. I told you that common men do not reason it, and they don't have understanding regarding the cause and effect relationship, at least in some of the cases. Most of the cases they do it properly, but in some of the cases they fail to establish the relationship. Even the scientists also. If you go through the Hindu chemistry written by Prafulla Chandra Rai, he wrote there vividly that even the scholars of science, though they understood the philosophy very well in the classroom, but when they go out of it, probably they fail to establish with common man and society. And whenever some lunar eclipse is there, they go out for Khol Kirtan and all these things. So that is how he tried to tell that understanding one thing and to relate it to the physical world, to the reality of it, and understanding it in a real parlance, there lies the difference of scientific thinking. Here is the deductive logic. Deductive logic, as you know, that it's a 2500 years back almost. Because if it is not really attributed to Aristotle, those people of the Greek philosophers, those who were working on that logic for a long time, they got a formal understanding about this logic. This logic is very simple one. All A's are B's, no A's are B's, some A's are B's. Now, these are the things from that starts our discussion. Most of the cases what happens, no, science, when science means I am not telling that English or other arts are also not science. Way of research is science. Okay, you cannot differ there. I will tell you where lies the differences. I will tell in a separate diagram rather, where in which area different subjects, how in philosophy itself, psychology is a different aspect, metaphysics is a different aspect. When we are conducting a metaphysics research on metaphysics, that is one thing, and when it is on psychology, that is another thing. Just try to understand, hypothesis is all freshmen are undergraduates. All undergraduates are geniuses. Sometimes hypotheses are taken in this way only. If you take a wrong hypothesis, of course conclusion is wrong. All freshmen are geniuses. That is how the conclusion goes there, and it is a valid conclusion. If you follow the major premise, what is major premise? Aristotle's logic, or say for example, what exactly Aristotle told, that man is mortal. That is a major premise in the hypothesis. Man is mortal. That means establishing between man and mortality a relationship. So if you consider man as a variable, a value attributed to it is mortality. Next is minor premise is that Socrates is a man. It's basically one variable, that is man. A particular instance is Socrates. Man is common variable. He has given the value Socrates there. That's all. Minor premise it is. Now, if we try to infer it, I mean, if we try to draw a conclusion, and if the reasoning is valid, then we must say that Socrates is mortal. That is what the basic, what we call Aristotelian syllogism, rather. Aristotelian syllogism is the basic deductive reasoning here. So, in first two hypotheses, if we consider the hypothesis wrongly, definitely conclusion is wrong. And most of you will raise the question, what is the use of hypothesis? And probably most of our research scholars, they fail to understand the need of hypothesis. Just don't mind it. Means I never have any intention to tell that you are going in a wrong direction or nothing like that. Whatever you have learned, that is very much correct. But ignoring the thing is that methodologically hypothesis is a very important part, and never you have contemplated over it. That is where my question now. See, think very seriously. Any knowledge, you are in a darkness, isn't it? We are trying to go to the light of it. Okay? It is told that thank you. It is told that in our ancient Indian tradition also we used to call that tamasoma yatirgamaya. Knowledge is basically from darkness towards the light. Now when you are in darkness, you must have some anticipation to go towards the light, isn't it? That anticipation, unless you have that anticipation right, you cannot reach towards the light. But I am not telling that everybody should anticipate rightly. This room, suddenly the power goes up. Suddenly this light goes up. There is a light on my face, it goes up. Now try to find out the reason behind it. See, you have to guess. First guess is that probably power cut. Okay? Power cut is there. If you go out and find that there is light outside the room, then you say that no, there is no power cut. That means your first hypothesis is wrong, that there is no power cut. Maybe there is another hypothesis. Say for example, this particular bulb burnt out. If that is so, if you take this bulb and put it in another location, and if it works there also, your hypothesis is again wrong, isn't it? Or if you think that this light is burnt out, put another bulb here. If it works, then you will say that you are right. If you find that no, that bulb is also not working, then your hypothesis is wrong. There may be several other hypotheses. There may be the, wall socket, board, wherever, fuse, different problems are there. Depending on your anticipation, you will work. In any research, you could never say that your way is the only way of reaching to the solution. In the introduction of physics, that book is written by Albert Einstein and Infield. In that, what exactly they told, I try to tell you. Let's understand that. In our endeavor to understand the nature, the reality, we are somewhat like a man. যে টাইমটা বলে দিলেই হবে আমাকে মানে একবার কোন 10 minutes that there only I have to stop. No, don't worry. Actually these constraints are there. That is why in your research also sometimes already sir tells that already 7 years passed away, somehow you have to get it done. So that is the way of research. So no problem. I will stop here, Riemann, because I have no intention to hamper the total proceedings. So what I am trying to tell is that anywhere the hypothesis is basically help us to go in the right direction. That's why in that introduction Einstein told that in our endeavor to understand the reality, we are somewhat like a man who is standing before a closed watch. A watch is closed, okay, and we can no way open the case and find how it is working. So if someone is ingenious, he can draw a diagram to infer how the hands are moving, how the sounds are coming, but he can never be sure that his diagram is the only diagram or his diagram is really providing the result. This is so much capricious. Nature is so much, whatever we have learned, what is truth, established truth to the date, maybe tomorrow we are going to change it. For some reason, if we understand that we learned it wrongly or that was the wrong method of research, that's why we had the result was like this, we have to change our earlier predicament. So in a valid argument, conclusion must be true if hypotheses are true. You just look the logic, conclusion must be true if the hypotheses are true. If conclusion is false, hypothesis must be false. They didn't tell that if hypothesis is false, conclusion is false. Why they didn't tell? Does this imply that conclusion must be false if hypothesis is false? The reason is given here. You see, all Kolkatans are politicians. All politicians are residents of West Bengal. All Kolkatans are residents of West Bengal. At least by birth, all of us, we think that we are politicians. That's why I wrote it here, that all Kolkatans are politicians. All politicians are residents of West Bengal. Then the argument is valid, all Kolkatans are residents of West Bengal. Or another hypothesis, you say, if 3 is equal to 7, 3 is equal to 7, then 1 is equal to 1. How? If you divide 3 by 7 and is equal to 7 by 7, you can divide it by a single denominator, 7 in both the cases. And then again, what you do, you have already considered 3 is equal to 7, so you put, instead of 3, 7 you put it there. So 7 by 7 is equal to 1, there also 3 by 3 is equal to 1, so 1 is equal to 1, conclusion is again valid. But you see, hypothesis is wrong. So conclusion is true, that does not necessarily mean that hypothesis is true. There lies the difference of understanding. The even mathematicians, when they work, they mostly work on deductive reasoning. Mathematical research, they usually proceed from some of the axioms, and they cannot proceed even a single line without applying the valid reasoning, or rather deductive reasoning. Especially in statistical research, there are some problems of getting the probability, where we say probability. So formal character of deductive reasoning is some sort of thoughtless thinking. I mean, if A is B, you can put any attribute to A and any attribute to B. That's why some people say that it is thoughtless thinking. Say for example, just where is the chance of vacillating? I mean, even if somebody put it in a logical manner, hypothesis is put in a research very logical manner, still the confusion is like this. Ram has publicly asserted that he believes in democracy. All who believe in democracy are good citizens. So Ram is a good citizen. But you see, there is a problem, there is a fallacy rather in this logic. Ram has publicly asserted that he believes in democracy. And who believe in democracy publicly asserted that he believes in democracy. He didn't say that he believes in democracy. Most of our politicians, those who are demagogues rather, they try to convince others, but they are not convinced in that particular philosophy. So for them, publicly assertion and truly believing is different. So in a mathematical way, this is not a valid conclusion. The reason is that the first part, the major premise itself is wrong. If it would have been that Ram believes in democracy, but Ram publicly asserted that he believes in democracy, is something different. So, what was the problem at that time? Just 3-4 minutes I will take, nothing more. Almost 1800 years, I mean, after the Greek philosophers have established the deductive reasoning, the same way of research or finding new truth based on the earlier truth, where the earlier orthodoxy, earlier dogmas, all were there. Only a few truths from there you used to proceed. So, at a time of Francis Bacon, he had written a good book on Novum Organum. It was in the year 1640. There he wrote that book, around that probably 40 someday. Why did he write it? This is very interesting story he has narrated there. A scientific discourse was going on, a seminar rather. So many people were there. What was exactly the point, you know? The point was, there are how many teeth in the lower jaw of horse? How many teeth are there in the lower jaw of horse? So many eruditions came, so many chronicles have been fetched out there, so many logic have been established. Went on for a few days, and at the end of a particular day, some neophyte, very young man, he came out, he told that if you allow me, I will raise a question. And he put a question which is really unheard. The question was, why don't you open the mouth of the horse and look into it? See, for a long time, till the 15th century, nobody bothered to do these things. If you go through the Hindu chemistry, same problems have been established. Even in the Royal Society also, they say that whether dead fish is way more than the living fish. Simple, that sort of experiment also was not happening. Only based on some earlier logical conclusion of it, some findings which are written in some chronicles, then you have to proceed the research. Nobody, the experimental way of doing things were not going on. So that was the writings of Novum Organum of Francis Bacon, and he has given the idea of inductive reasoning, that is from general to from particular to general. Earlier we were trying from general to particular, but here he has started the working from particular to the general, observing the phenomena regularly, get the particular instances and generalize it. But there also some problems were there. I will tell you, and that is the end of the story now for this timing, because later I cannot proceed further. First of all, the scientist who is probably going to abolish from this world is Darwin. For a long time he has been collecting species all over the world at different places. And his purpose was also there. Purpose was to understand how the living being evolves, origin of the life, and so on. These are the questions. He was observing the species all over the world, but he failed to establish any relation among them. Even after working quite 1.5 decades, the research didn't fetch any kind of findings. At that time, Malthus wrote that article, the famous article of Malthus. Those who are from economics background, they know it well, that population theory of Malthus, where he has given an idea of this survival of the fittest. Okay, I mean some reasoning would be there, means from one industry they will lose, or some natural calamity is there, so population will be decreased, and again the society will work in that direction. From there, it occurred to Darwin that probably nature is the reason to select a species. That means if nature favors it, it will survive. If nature fails to support it, then it won't survive. And after that, he could establish the relationship of this nature selection theory. You see, to have a focus in your research, you must have an hypothesis. That's the end of this lecture. Thank you all for your patient listening, and I will continue it later. Proceed. পরের জনকে বলতে বলে দেন। আচ্ছা আচ্ছা। If you have any query for this timing, please listen, or if you allow 5 minutes more, then I can have an interaction. Okay, just please, any of you please come out with your question, because that is the one ground where I can also learn something. Please, please come out.
কারো কোশ্চেন নেই? হ্যাঁ,
see, for you only this seminar is there, so at least it should be thought provoking, no? What is your idea? If you have some contention to object also, please raise. I have no problem, because I don't have a very rigorous mindset that I have learned everything properly. I might have learned it wrongly. So please, if you have any query, tell it, or any objection, that also you tell me. See, actually what hypothesis we take, usually either some dry run science or some pilot study in social science, we accept an hypothesis. A hypothesis, if we fail, if we think that this, probably I am doing any kind of biasness by deciding this hypothesis, to avoid this biasness, null hypothesis is established. To avoid that biasness, actually there should not be any biasness in preceding your research, so at the beginning itself, how to remove that biasness, null hypothesis is there. So the questions when you will prepare, the observation you will make on your object, there two aspects should be there. One is towards the formulation of your hypothesis, another your null hypothesis. So say for example, you will ask a question, they straight answer this one. Don't you take it at their face value, but another question should be there to understand whether they have committed deliberate mistake there, or deliberately they are trying to deceive you. That question will be tried in the null hypothesis. Actually, null hypothesis is to avoid the biasness of the research. Anything else, anything you can tell. Several ways are there. See, first of all, biasness, quite natural. Biasness would be there. Researcher, their own prejudice is there. Their instinct also may be the reason. Their guide, their supervisors also may have committed some mistakes. For that reason, biasness may be there. But there are sampling techniques. What samples you will select? If scientifically selection of samples are proper, no judgment sampling is there, then you can reduce the biasness. I mean, say for example, if in a proper parameters are selected to avoid the biasness, you can take all the people. You are telling, I am telling you, say for example, in the research of economics, if you select that only the industry where some boom is going on, and you are trying to tell that is the condition of the India, and AI is America and India, not artificial intelligence, then probably you are committing some error. Other people, those who are working in different other industries where some recession is going on, you have not taken data from that. See, in social science, problem is definition, precision of definition. In natural sciences, definition, say for example, what we call an inch, a centimeter, that exactly indicates a particular, say, bar in mercury kept in a particular temperature in a particular place, the length of it is centimeter. But in social science, if you say intelligence, what exactly intelligence is? It's, I mean, we yet to arrive a very rigorous definition which scientifically can establish like natural science. Natural science has started its journey long back, so their process have been established thoroughly, which will take some time in social science research.
Thank you, our resource person, Dr. Durga Shankar Rath. Thank you very much, sir, from core of my heart for being with us. Sir, am I audible, sir? Partho Babu? Sir, okay, sir. Yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir. Okay, so we are starting, sir. We are going to start. Yes, sir. Okay, just a minute, let me introduce. Okay, sir. We have with us our next speaker, Dr. Partho Sarathi Das, Assistant Library and Information Officer, National Library of Kolkata of India, Kolkata, West Bengal, India. Actually, sir is very renowned in this field. Still, I have to introduce sir in front of all of you. Dr. Partho Sarathi Das is currently working as Assistant Library and Information Officer, National Library of India, Kolkata. He has completed PhD, MLIS, BLIS, B.Ed and other professional degrees of his concerned field. Dr. Das has more than 15 years of professional experience and is currently serving as a Library and Information Officer at National Library, Government of India, Ministry of Culture, after qualifying UPSC in 2011. Earlier, he had worked as Senior Library and Information Assistant at Botanical Survey of India, Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, Government of India. He is a public library innovator of International Network of Emerging Library Innovators, INELI, India, a public library leadership program implemented by MS Swaminathan Research Foundation and supported by Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. As mentor of INELI India and South Asia, that is Afghanistan, Bhutan, Bangladesh, India, Nepal, Myanmar, Maldives, Pakistan, Sri Lanka. He visited British Library, London and libraries in Melbourne, Australia. He is a live member of many associations related to library development. He is a member of International Federation of Library Association and Information Center, the Library and Information Association London, live member of Bengal Library Association, Central Government Library Association, Delhi Library Association, Indian Association for Special Libraries and Information Center, and many more. Till date, sir has published around 37 articles in various journal and conference paper, and he has also published a few book chapters. Sir has attended various national and international conferences, seminars, workshops, and delivered invited lecture and radio talk in All India Radio. Participated as member of panel for professional discussion and acted as resource person for workshop. He is one of the co-author of books that is named as Story of Steel Bridge, the Howrah Bridge, testimony of Indo-British cooperation in engineering field. So we are grateful to you, sir, for being with us, and we are fortunate enough that a person of such a repute is with us. So now the session is totally yours, sir. Please enlighten us, sir. Over to you, sir.
Chance to talk before you. So I again congratulate for organizing such a course on research methodology. So I sharing my presentation. So is it visible? Is the slide visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I will be talking on this issue that journal usage skills in academic research and scholarly publishing. So whenever we are doing any kind of research, suppose we are whether we are doing for PhD or MPhil or writing a research paper. So one thing very complex and perplexing question to ask, that what are where should I start? And what are the journals I should use? How do I write an article for a journal? So these are the questions that come to our mind. So in this lecture, I want to cover these areas. What is a journal? What is the difference between periodical, journal, serial, magazine? What are the formats of journals? What are the types of journals? What is the importance of a journal as an information source? What are the journal metrics? How can I find my appropriate journal? How can I contribute to a journal? What are the tools of a journal for journal selection? How can I subscribe to a journal, and how an institution can publish a journal? So the story behind my love of journals, because I was heading the journals department of National Library quite for many years, and I am associated with foreign acquisition of print journals and print books for over a decade. So my association with journal acquisition, and National Library, as you know, has a subscription of more than 15 crores of journal subscription. So it has given me a huge exposure and experience that how journals, what are the formats of journals, and what are the trends of journals we see in the market, and what are the evolution of the journal. So I want to just give you a shade light on all of these issues so that you can be better informed and aware of a journal. So first of all, we have to know that what is a serial publication. As the term denotes, serial publication, that the serial means that has some kind of periodicity. So a publication in any medium issued under the same title in a succession of discrete parts, usually numbered or dated, and appearing at regular or irregular intervals with no predetermined conclusion. A specific serial title identified by a unique international standard serial number, I will discuss what is this, and key title assigned and maintained by the International Serials Data System. So if we see, the serial publication are those publications which are published in different parts and issues. That means there is a particular periodicity or gap between the two publications. So it may be monthly, it may be weekly, it may be annual, it may be bi-weekly, it may be fortnightly. So there should be a periodicity. So first thing you have to see whether the publication has a definite periodicity or not. Second thing, you have to see that the unique number, the serial contents, that will be a ISSN, that is the International Standard Serial Number. So there are the different types of serials we know. We have heard the names. Those who do not heard the names, I am again repeating: journals, newspapers, magazines, annual volumes, yearbooks, advances, directories, and proceedings. So these are the, more or less you will find these terms, and these belong to the category of serials. So now coming to what is a journal. A periodical devoted to disseminating original research and commentary on current developments in a specific discipline, sub-discipline, or a field of study. Usually published in fortnightly, bi-monthly, quarterly, annual, sold by subscription. So if you see a serial publication with its own distinctive title containing a mix of articles, editorials written by more than one contributor. So it is the third characteristic by which you can understand this is a periodical or a serial, that it will carry more than one article or more than one chapter. If we compare, it is a book So a book, suppose an edited book might contain more than one chapter. So an editor will be editing more than one chapter in a editorial book. Similarly, in periodical also, there will be more than one article. So number of articles actually depends on the policy of the periodical. So it may be 2, it may be 5, it may be 10, it may be 20. So it varies, the number may vary. But it has more than one contributor. So apart from that, if we see, so in some cases I have seen that a journal can bring out some special issues also. So apart from the regular periodicity, it may contain more than the suppose if it is publishing 12 issues per year, so it can bring a special issue. So it is on the prior announcement of the editor. So it also happens like this. Now, if you go through the different types of the journals, there are different types of journals. So first type is letters journal. What is letters journal? A scholarly periodical devoted to publishing short articles containing interim reports of research results, usually in a specific academic field, including negative and non-inclusive results likely to be interest to other researchers. So this letters journal is basically publishing short articles. It doesn't contain big articles. So basically they are conveying the research results in some academic field. Okay. Then coming to the methods journal, it is again a very specialized journal devoted to disseminating information about the development of new technique and in scientific research and refinement of existing methodologies. Example, there is a journal called Journal of Immunological Methods. So it belongs to the methods journal. Synoptic journals, there is that kind of journal that publishes brief reports of research findings and abstracts of articles for which the entire text is available on request. So this is another kind. Fourth type is trade journal. I think you may have been associated or seen this trade journal. Trade journal is basically a catalog of a particular business house. So it is not an academic journal, but still we need this thing. Suppose in a lab, when we are purchasing some equipment or anything else, so the manufacturer give us the catalog. Please select the exact model you want. So that kind of catalogs or that kind of publications by the business houses is termed as the trade journal. So these are also very, very important journal for primary information. So another kind of journal has taken, I have seen that this is a video journal. What is a video journal? These are peer-reviewed journal combines with high-quality video demonstrations of experiments with a detailed text protocol, allowing researchers around the globe to learn from each other easily and efficiently. So what they does in experiments, suppose if there are many, if you understand the term protocol is basically a laboratory techniques or experiments. So what they do, they all video record the experiments and demonstrations and publish in a journal, which is named as a video journal. So basically, if you see the fields of the video journals, biology, neuroscience, medicine, bioengineering, engineering, genetics, cancer research, immunology, infection, chemistry, behavior, environment, development, biology, and biochemistry. So these are the areas by basically video journals are published in these areas. So what they does all the protocols, all the experiments, and that is it will give you a real life recording of the entire episode of experiments. So we have generally what happens when we heard the term magazines, and we generally confuse the two terms journals and magazines. So what is the difference between journal and magazines? The first difference is the journal will carry scholarly material, scholarly articles. But in case of magazines, what happens? If you see the magazines, there will be more than a mix of subjects. It will carry articles of more than one subject. It may carry articles on travel, it may articles on science, it may carry articles on politics, it may carry articles on book reviews. So you will find entire different kinds of subjects in magazine. But in case of journals, it will contain single subject, single scholarly subject. So, and these are scholarly articles in journal, and in magazines they are popular articles that a magazine can be read by anyone. Suppose if I give you an example of Desh. Desh is a very important and renowned literary journal. So you can read Desh, that is no problem. Anyone can read Desh because it contains many articles on different subjects. But in case of journal, it has a specific stakeholder, specific reader, specific user. So this is exactly what is the difference between journal and magazine. So now, journal article, you can compare the journal article with a chapter of a book. Like a chapter of a book, exactly the article is comparable to a part of that particular journal. So now, if you see the entire, this is actually a sample reference of a journal. So what are the parts I have shown you by arrows? So the first part you will see, this is the author or editors. Authors, then coming to the year. Then third part is the title. Then fourth part is the volume and issue, in which part it has been appeared. And the last part is the page number. Yes, another part is their journal title. That is in italics. Italics part is journal title, and then the issue and volume, and last is the page number. So why the journals are useful? They are considered as useful sources of information because they are the primary source of information. If you see, there are three kinds of information source. One is the primary, secondary, and tertiary. Primary information source are those sources which actually contain recent information, that is just it has been produced or it is not produced before any source. So journal is considered to be one of the most important primary source of information basically in scientific discipline. Suppose if I give you an example of if you discovered a new species in plant species, so you need to report the plant species in a particular journal. Or unless and until this is published in a journal in Latin, so it is not considered as a new species. Or in any case, if you consider any example of your also discipline, so we will find that journal publication is one of the important primary part in any kind of research. If you have received any grant or if you received any research grant from any institution, so they will you have to prove the publication, that in which journal you have published the important research results. And newspaper is also considered is one of the important source of primary research. So now if you say me the format, now newspapers are coming into online and print newspapers are also there. So if you see the mode is different. Mode may be different. Mode may be electronic, mode may be print. But if you see the content part, it is the primary source of information. It is still considered as the primary source of information. So these are the list. When there is a question always that how could I find a list of journal findings? How can I find the journals? So I have listed some of the tools by which you can select your desired journals. So one is the Image Journal Selector, Elsevier Finder, EndNotes Manuscript Manager, and EEE Publication Recommender. So these are the sources for the journal finder tools by which you can, if you visit these platforms and if you write your subject, then they will recommend you that these are the journals that are suitable for your subject. That these journals you can select for your publication of research paper. Now another important service is there. You can also set up an alerting service. So these are the Brown Sign, Current Content Connect, Journal POCs, and Research App. These are the main alerting service. Actually, alerting service is that service So you have to just register yourself, your email ID. If you register your email ID to these platforms, what they will do, and also you have to register your research interest. So suppose any papers, any new papers are coming in the particular research area, they will immediately inform you through your mail. So I think that you should always, whatever subject you are doing research, you can use this. They're very useful. I would recommend journal TOCs, and this is very, very important. There is a free collection of scholarly journal, table of contents, setup alerts, and you can register your email ID and subject interest. So they will directly send you the content page of the particular journal. So this is basically a review process of a journal, how the review happens. So when you are, as an author, you are giving directly, submitting your paper to the publisher, then what publisher does, they send this for reviewing, and after that review, they send back to the editor, and if any changes happens, then the editor will inform you that about the changes, and after the changes, finally, the paper is accepted. So entire thing is very organized, and these are maintained by the journal publishers, and this is the life cycle of submitted manuscript. Is very beautiful. Next, coming to what is peer review. So when you see a journal, it is written everywhere. It is written that it is peer review journal. So the term peer review means that what are my peers? First, you have to know who are my peers. Suppose you are doing research on coastal environmental studies. So suppose if you are doing a research on this particular area, so there are peers, or there are many scientists, or there are many researchers who are working on the same area. So there are your peers. So what they do, the journal editor, they send these articles to the different renowned peers. So this is actually the term known as peer review. So these are the common types of peer review is the journal follows. One is the single blind peer review, double blind peer review, open peer review, collaborative peer review. So coming to the single blind peer review, that is, authors don't know who the reviewers are, but the reviewers are aware of the author's identity when they decide to accept or reject the document. That means the authors do not know who are my reviewers of my paper, but the reviewers know the name of the author. So that means it is a biased process. So if my relation with the reviewer is not good, then the reviewer may reject my paper. So blind review, single blind review is not a dependable way of review. Though for the second process, the double blind peer review, it is the most widely used peer review practiced by different renowned international journals. So what it does, the journal editor does not reveal the reviewer's credentials to the authors, and vice versa. And the authors also do not know who are the reviewers for my particular paper. They actually remove the names of the authors and send it to the reviewers. And similarly, when the reviewers are giving some comments, that comment also, the authors do not know who is my reviewer, and they can only see the comments. They can only see the comments, but not the name of the reviewers. So in this process, actually what happens, that is, there will be no biasness. The author doesn't know the reviewer, and the reviewer doesn't know the author. So third category is open peer review. What is it? The authors and peer reviewers know both each other identities. This system allows responses to be published along with the final manuscript. So this is basically an open process. So author and the reviewers, they know each other, and the comments provided by the reviewers, they are published in the final manuscript. That these are the these are the reviews that my paper has got, and the author accept that reviews openly, because as it is an open-minded, it is an open-minded system. In case of collaborative peer review, this type of peer review occurs on a platform provided by the journal where authors and reviewers can discuss and how the paper can be improved. Often the reviewers from the authors but may be revealed at the time of publications. So collaborative peer review, that means that authors and reviewers, they know each other. But in case of journals, they hide the reviewers' identities from authors. But it may be revealed at a later stage. So it is the refinement. You see the open peer review and the collaborative peer review. It is a further refinement of the open peer review. So here the publisher gives the platform. So it is a publisher-dependent collaborative peer review, because if the publisher is encouraging the reviewer and the author to come together and review the paper by mutual discussion. So fifth one is the third-party peer review. The authors get their manuscripts reviewed by an independent peer review service before they approach any journal. So this kind of review will be availed by the authors or researchers if the author thinks that whenever I will give my paper finally to a renowned journal, so it may point out some lacunas, or it may point out some difficulties, it may point out some any kind of defects. So what the author can avail, if the author can avail third-party peer review, then they will give you suggestive corrections. They will give you a suggestive that this thing might you can change. So the author can immediately change the paper and get submitted to the original publisher. Sixth one is the post-publication peer review. The journal provides a platform such as discussion forum for the post-publication commenting. Once the paper is available on the platform, anyone who reads it can post their comments or views about the paper. As the name suggests, after the publication, anyone can read the publication or article and give their suggestions. The seventh one is the cascading peer review. When a manuscript is rejected after review because it is of low priority for the journal at the moment, or because it is not interesting for the journal's target readers, the journal may suggest that the authors may submit the manuscript to an alternate journal along with the reviews. So the cascading peer review is that it doesn't mean the paper has been rejected due to its quality. Only because the paper has been rejected because the journal in which the author has chosen to publish, that journal is not suitable for that particular research paper. Just the suitability, the reason is only the suitability of a particular research paper to a particular journal. It doesn't mean that the paper has been rejected due to some defects or low kind of research. So as a result, what the publishers do, the publishers give a suggestion to the author or the researcher that you may publish, that there may be different kind of journal titles to be published. Maybe that publisher publishes more journal titles related to that particular paper. So they give the suggestion, okay, you may submit your manuscript to another journal which is suitable for your publication. So now coming to very important parameter of journal metrics. So you have all journal metrics are intended to reflect the importance of a journal within its field, because as you see now in particular subject, in any subject, there are many number of journals are published. Even I will say from my experience that the journal publication and journal acquisition is the most complex acquisition today, because what kind of journals are publishing, what are the parameters of journal publications, and how the journal is evolving to time, and what are the modes of journal publication. So these are very important parameters which I think I should not discuss in this forum, because there are many important factors that actually confuses me. Even after 10 to 12 years of working in a journal acquisition, I am still confused how this happens. Actually, they have no standard methods. They have no standard methods. So sometimes a journal stop publication, sometimes a journal split into different titles. Sometimes what a journal do, journal name changes name. So there are different types of problems. So, and another issue which very perplexing or confusing to researchers, what is the journal actually in which I will publish my research paper? So what are the criteria? What should be the criteria? What should be my parameters that the researcher will see before publication or selecting the particular journal? So I will suggest you, please go through the journal metrics. So what is journal metrics? It is the ranking. It is the ranking. See, rankings may be different. There are different methods of ranking. There are different metrics of ranking. You can rely on any of the rankings, which is very popular ranking, like impact factor, like alt metrics, like H index. So you may rely on any of the rankings according to your need, because when you are applying for a grant or a received grant from any organization, they will give you indication of what metrics they want, in which kind of journal they want. So that is very important. You have to see, and first you see and then decide. So I will give you a generalized what are the metrics we have. First is the H index. H index is generated from Google Scholar. So it is free of charge. You can, if you have a Google account, you can make an account in the Google Scholar and start uploading your papers in the Google Scholar, and you can show your H index. So H index is what? Is based on the highest number of papers that had at least the same number of citations. Suppose you have 5 papers uploaded in your Google account, Google Scholar account, and your 5 paper has got at least 5 citations. So the H index will be high. So this is how they calculate this H index. Next, coming to site score. Site score calculates the average number of citations received in a calendar year by all items published in that journal in the preceding 3 years. The calendar year to which a serial title's issues are assigned is determined by their cover dates and not dates that serial issues are available online. Site score also uses the citation data from Scopus to rank journals by their level of importance. So site score is basically a index or matrix given by the Scopus. If you have access to Scopus, it is an indexing database. So then you can see the site score of a particular journal. Then another kind of matrix is there that will be very popular, that is JSR, Journal Citation Reports. That is, this data is sourced from the Web of Science score collection. Again, Web of Science is another very huge and very important indexing and abstracting database in which you will find this JSR matrix of the particular journal. So another important matrix is there, journal impact factor. But journal impact factor nowadays is not accepted as a very acceptable source for research papers, because it has many flaws, many shortcomings. But still, many of the research institutions accept journal impact factor. So it has again a formula. It is again given by the Thomson Reuters. Now another matrix is there. Sign journal ranking score for a journal is calculated by taking into account both the number of citations a journal receives as well as the importance of the citing journal. So see, SJR, they are taking 2 parameters parallelly. One parameter is the how many citations the journal is receiving, as well as who are these citing journals. That is, the journals who are referring to that particular journal. So both the journals, both the important parameters are taken into account while they are normalizing the score, and this score they are getting that score SJR. So I will come to the last one and the most important one, which you should always look into it, that is altmetric score. So the basic difference between altmetric score and other score that I have discussed in my previous slides, altmetrics is that score or metrics that is a qualitative data that are complementary to traditional citation-based metrics. So what is the difference between these two? The only difference is that the altmetrics takes the data or extracts the data that from the social media. Suppose, for an example, suppose I am an author, I am writing a paper. Suppose I am a researcher and I have just read a very important, interesting paper that is relevant to my research. What I am doing, I am referring that article to in the social media, in the Facebook or in the Instagram or in any other social media. When I am referring the article to my peer group, to my friend, what they do, altmetrics extracts that data and bring into to create some score. So as you understand that altmetrics are taking the metrics from the normal channel, that normal documentation channel, that is the citation channel, and further additionally what they are doing, they are taking the data also from the social media. So that this is very important. So now what I have seen on all the journals, in online journals, basically they are giving the altmetric score. They are not giving any IX score. They are giving the altmetric score. Even when we select journals from the acquisition in the acquisition part, also when we are selecting journal, we always see what is the altmetric score of the particular journal. So this is the screenshot of a Scopus. So I have already told you about the site score. So this is the site score. See, this is the journal, Cancer Journal of Clinicians. So this is the site score. So in that platform, you can download the Scopus source list for a particular journal or particular subject. You can download and understand what are the site score of the particular journal. So now coming to the authoritative data for journal. So what is the place from where we can take the journal information? Actually, this is a very important tool for the librarians, very important tool for the acquisition librarians, and equally it is important for you. So Ulrich Web is a global directory of journals that is a globally accepted database, and it is now published by Claviate Analytics. So earlier it was published by ProQuest. So it is a database of more than 3 million journals, and it contains exhaustive information about the particular journal. Exhaustive information means what is its origin, what are the titles, what are its previous titles, what are the current titles. But if a journal gets split up into titles, or if it changes its title, so entire history of the particular journal is given in the database. So we can actually locate a particular journal by this database. And what are the price, who are the publisher, what are the period, entire information is available in this Ulrich Web. Now coming to the open access journal. So as you know, open access is now a very important platform for journal publication and article publication. We also want to know or try to understand what are the different types of open access for journal publication. So first one is the green open access. Green open access publishing is to publish an article in a traditional subscription journal, not open access. After publication, a version of the article is also placed in an open access institutional repository. This is called self-archiving because publications are registered by author themselves. So what does this mean? Suppose I am publishing an article in a particular journal which is not actually open access. So what the publisher will do, they will give you a permission to the author to self-archive your article in your institutional repository. So that kind of journals are called green open access. So gold open access is again of two types, one is full and hybrid, I think. So next, full gold open access is what? All publications are freely accessible to readers immediately and without restrictions. In this open access model, there are no subscription fees and publishers gain their income by charging authors. This is very important. In this kind of gold open access journals, there is an article processing charge. It is popularly termed as APCs. So journals, if you want to publish a paper, after the peer review process, if the paper got accepted by the journal, though they will charge you an APC. So in case of APC, suppose you have received a grant for research from any research granting organization, they also reimburse these APCs. So APCs can be reimbursed from your parent organization, maybe from the funding agency. So you have to show this, whether these APCs are reimbursable by the particular organization or not. So this is the full gold open access. Then hybrid gold open access is what? The authors publish in additional subscription journals, but may offer gold open access to their articles by paying APCs. Open access is offered to all readers immediately as articles appear online. So it actually depends on the policy of the particular publisher. In hybrid open access, what happens? Some articles are in the gold and some are paid. So all the articles are not open. So that's why it is called hybrid. So you have to pay a particular fees to the publisher, then you have an access of that. So these are the lists in which you can find or select open access journals. So one is the Science Citation Index. I think it's a very important source, that is Caveat Analytics, they are publishing. Scopus Journal List, Directory of Open Access Journals. I think DOAG, you can go through this DOAG, because DOAG is one of the most accepted open access journals platform. So if you don't have an access with Science Citation Index and Scopus Journal List, so you can access this Directory of Open Access Journals. I think you can make a guidance that the journals, quality open access journals that are published in the platform of DOAG. Another quality is Quality Open Access Market, Open Access Scholarly Publishers Association. So these are platforms in which you can select the quality open access journals. Now coming to another concept of predatory journals, a predatory journal is one that will accept virtually any article as long as they are paid to publish that article. That doesn't mean that any journal that asks for money to publish an article is a predatory journal. So what happens? So if the journal wants for publication of any article, that means it is a predatory journal. So any quality journal, except in case of APCs, in gold open access, any quality journal does not require money by the author to publish that particular research paper. So predatory journals are those who can accept any kind of trash material, any kind of paper. They are not properly peer-reviewed, and even this is one of the racket going on in India. So you should very, very aware that what are the predatory journals or not. So these, I have given you some of the tools by which you can check if the publisher of the journal is predatory or not. One is the Committee on Publication Ethics, Directory of Open Access Journals, that is DOAG, Open Access Scholarly Publishers Association, Stop Predatory Journals Publishers, Journal Publishing Practices and Standards, and Dolos List. So these are the tools in which you can directly go into that tools and type your journal that whether it belongs to the predatory or not. Next, coming to a very important, very important for the academic researchers, that is the care list. That is UGC Care, a quality mandate for Indian academia. On 28th November 2018, UGC has started another project called CARE, that is a consortium for academic and research ethics. So main objectives of this CARE is to promote quality research, academic integrity and publication ethics in Indian universities. And what they have done, they have actually surveyed different journals and made a list. What are the list? I will show you. So the UGC CARE list includes research journals from all disciplines indexed in Scopus or Web of Science. That is Arts and Humanities Citation Index, source publication, Science Citation Index, expanded source publication, Social Science Citation Index, source publication. So they have used these two important indexing databases. One is the Scopus, another is the Web of Science. So these journals have a global acceptance as quality journals and are considered to be all academic purposes. So they have given three lists. One is the A, B, C and D. That is 4 lists they have uploaded in their UGC CARE website. So you have to just register there. UGC, you have to register your name and email ID. Then you can have an access this list. It is changing, it is evolving. So if the number may change now, so it is actually evolving. Every day they are changing. So I think I have already discussed this list of journal finder tools. Then I will briefly go through the steps of how to start a research. So first you have to identifying a key search term. Then the second part is the literature search, and third one is the writing a synopsis. So these are the methods by which literature search can be done. You can brainstorm the keywords, expand your keywords, use Boolean operators, refine your search results. So searching is very, very one of the important technique of any researcher. So I don't know how many of the researchers are depending on Google or anything trash like that. I now recommend that you don't use Google for research, because Google has high recall value and low precision value. So you do not use Google as a dependable search engine, because Google is not that kind of search engine that you can use for literature search. So try to search more academic based search engines like Blaze is there. There are many other academic search engines are there. They like Wolfram. So there are different kind of search engines are there. So try to avoid Google, and I would not request not the researcher and also the readers to use Google as the dependable search engine for any searching of information. So this is the path of literature search. We always start literature search from tertiary source and reach to primary source. So this is a research article structure. If you see the research article structure, most of you know. Just I am for your understanding, that is abstract, introduction, literature review, methodology, results, discussion, conclusion, acknowledgements and references. Actually, in a normal, in a high impact factor or high altered matrix factor research journal, they want this structure. So you have to follow this structure while you are writing a research article. So what you have to make an abstract, you have to give an introduction. So you have to give in the introduction also, you have to give a niche area, territory area, in the literature review, in the methodology, what are the process of data collection, what are the results, what are the discussion. So these are the author guideline you will find in the particular journal page, web page. Okay. Now I am coming to how can I contribute to a journal. So first step is to identify a peer review journal. Second, you check its author guidelines. Third is prepare the manuscript according to the author guidelines. Then submit the manuscript. then wait for the review and comments, and after the review, you revise and wait for publication. So these are the 5-6 steps by which you can contribute to a journal. So these are the actually articles sharing between the authors. Many of the publishers, they follow this preprint, accepted manuscript, and published journal article, post-print retail. So preprint, that is the before publication, the article is called preprint, accepted manuscript, and the published manuscript, published journal article. So these three forms can be put by the author. Okay. Now coming to international standard serial number. What is that? International standard serial number is an identification code used by the publishers, suppliers, libraries, information services to identify a particular serial. So how this is identified? By the number. And this number is assigned in India by the National Science Library, which here New Delhi is one of the network of over 89 national centers worldwide. It is responsible for assigning the ISSN to serials published in India. So if you go to the website of National Science Library, you will find the link of ISSN there. So this is the website, nsl.niscare.res.in. So in that website, you will find that link, ISSN National Center, National Science Library. And if you decide to start a journal in your college or in university, so you have to follow some guidelines, and you have to first apply for ISSN after publication of at least 2 issues. So these are the guidelines. Request an ISSN only if your publication being print or electronic brings to one of the categories below. So first category is that serial, journals, newspapers, magazines, monographic series. ISSN assignment request process may take at least minimum 30 working days. They are assigned free of charge. So reserves the right to decline an ISSN, consult with Indian ISSN Center database for international database before applying for ISSN. This is very important. The last point, when you are deciding on to publish a particular journal, so first I would request you to consult the ISSN Center database or international database to see whether there is any kind of duplication of title, if the name is duplicated. So before deciding on the title of a particular journal for publication, new journal, so you should try to avoid the duplication. Copy the first issue, copy of the first issue, including title page, original titles for non-annual publication. There should be a minimum of 5 editorial board members for a journal. So this is the minimum criteria that for a starting of a new journal. Complete official postal email addresses. Members should be given personal email address like Yahoo. For international journals, the editorial board has to be international in scope, with some of the editorial board members belonging to reputed institutions from abroad. So these are the checklists for starting any journal by any organization. So yes, these are also very important. Self-attested copies of recognized address proof of publisher. For print version, they want the cover page title and editorial page, and minimum 5 to 6 original titles. So these are the minimum criteria you should fulfill for assigning for getting the or obtaining the ISSN number from the agency. Okay. This is the publisher's medium is also important, whether it is print, online, and the title changes if any. Okay. Now I am coming to the journal aggregators. There are 2 different journal aggregators. One is the Indian, another is the foreign. So Indian journal aggregators, indianjournals.com, iScholar, and JGate, they are very popular Indian journal aggregators. And in case of foreign aggregators, there are EBSCO, ProQuest, Caveat Analytics. They are also very good journal aggregators of foreign journals. So how can I subscribe a journal? If you want to subscribe a journal, you can go for individual subscription, and you can also go for institutional subscription. So these are the models of subscription. One is the print only, online only, print plus online, print plus online. In case you are subscribing to print, online is free. and vice versa. If you are subscribing to print, online print is free. So institutional package, in case of consortia, we generally recommend institutional subscription, paper article, journal archive. These are all the modes of subscription. Okay, online, for online access of journals, there are two kinds of licenses. One is the title level institutional site license, another is the collection or consortia license, that is multi-site license. Suppose in case of if your organization is located in different parts of India, then you go for multi-site license. If you want that only one institution is there, so you go for one single site license. So these are the different types of site licenses are there. So there are 2-3 things that you should know also. One is the DOI. DOI is the acronym for Digital Object Identifier, and Digital Object Identifier is the identifier by which you can identify a particular article. So OpenURL is also a online digital object identifier. Is one of the digital objects you can identify through an open URL. And RSS feeds is another service that is given by the journal publishers. So if you are subscribed to RSS feeds, then you will be receiving the new content. New content means new content list published by the particular publisher. So now I coming to what is the role of National Library in bibliographical control of serial publications. So as you know, the National Library is one of the important library and is an institution of national importance under Article 62 of the 7th Schedule of Indian Constitution. And there is a Legal Deposit Act all over the globally. If you see any national library in globally, so the main function of the National Library is to implement the Legal Deposit Act. What is Legal Deposit Act? Legal Deposit Act is an act or an act or rule of the land by which that empowers the citizen to deposit one copy of their publication. That is maybe book, maybe newspaper, maybe any journal, maybe periodical, anything, whatever you are publishing. So you have to deposit one copy of that particular publication published in any language, anywhere in India to National Library. This is called Legal Deposit Act. And the act is known as Delivery of Books and Newspapers Public Libraries Act 1954. And in 1956, that act has been amended. But the main problem with this act is that there is the penalty clause is very weak. That is, we can't actually penalize the publishers for their non-deposition or any default of this Legal Deposit Act, because as you know, the only fine is ₹50. So we generally what happens, we are receiving about 30 to 40% of the publications published in India. We can't give you a total publication output or bibliographic control, whatever we call the bibliographical control of a particular country. So we can't give you, we are not in a position to give you an entire scenario that what are the figures, what are the exact number of books that are published in India, and what are the exact number of books and journals that we are receiving. But still, I will tell you that National Library, a huge depository library still till now, because we are receiving a journal, a huge quantity of journal, and newspaper. We have more than 100 billion issues of newspaper, physical newspapers. So I would invite you all to come to National Library to visit one day a National Library, and you will gain a huge idea that what are the things are going here, and what are the journals we have, what are the books we have, what are the newspapers we have. So we have a website, nationallibrary.gov.in. You can go to there and make a membership there. It is free of charge. And similarly, you can visit here for your physical presence. So I think I have completed on time. So any question you have, you can ask.
Hello. Thank you so much, sir. If you have any question from the audience, basically from the scholars. Sir is ready to answer that. Okay. Sir, I have a question, but you have already given this answer. Some students are quite aggressive to make their enlisted name at your library. So I think they will meet with you, and kindly you register them as the members of this library. Sir.
Yes, definitely you can come.
Okay, thank you, sir. Sir, one question to you. If there any software provision that will be free for the institution, mainly for plagiarism test.
No, we do not have any plagiarism service in our lab.
Actually, if you have some scope to make the plagiarism for the research articles at your institution, that should be more better to us.
Actually, we are not academic organization, na? That's why we can take that.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Already we are at the end session of this seminar organized by the Department of Library and our research center, mainly Coastal Environmental Studies. And I offer my thanks and gratitude to Dr. Durga Shankar Roth, Head Librarian, Vidyasagar University, and also Dr. Partho Sarathi Das, Assistant Library and Information Officer, Kolkata. And his lecture reveals many dimensions in this research field. I think our participants and students, they get more information about your specious lecture. Thank you, sir. Thank you on behalf of ESSBC College. Thank you all.
Thank you.